Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Go right ahead.
All right, perfect. Welcome, everyone. My name is Görkan Stalk. I'm the GM for Dynamics 365 Project Operations. And what we'll do today in today's session is we want to introduce you to project operations. We'll talk about the vision and the product strategy in the first 15 minutes. I will then hand it over to Russell, who will demo project operations out of the box for us. What we will focus on in the demo for today is the front-end capabilities around sales, project planning, and resource management to time entry and invoicing. And then we'll hand over to Mikhail, who'll talk about the customer scenarios and the different implementation choices that our customers will have. And then we'll turn it over to Scott, who will show us project operations in action. And then we're hoping to have 10 to 15 minutes of Q&A at the end of the session. So that's the prepared content. As Robin said, please do submit your questions throughout the sessions. We'll be happy to get to as many of them as we can today. So with that, and I realize some of you may have seen these slides if you have attended our business application session, summit session, or our Ignite session. So we have been talking about the vision and the strategy for a while. So I'll try to be brief with these slides and get to the demo quickly. So if you look at Dynamics 365 Project Operations, it's a solution that targets the professional services automation market. It's a business application that will be used by services organizations or services divisions within product organizations to manage their project-intensive services, right? And if you look at the services economy has been evolving rapidly over the past few years. What we see from analysts and also from our own customer base is that these organizations are the quickest to adopt cloud-based solutions, and they leverage automation heavily. And there's a good reason for this, right? As they need the ability to quickly respond to customer or business demand shifts with innovative and valuable service offerings that they can deliver on time, within scope, and on budget. In contrast, if you look at the product organization, introducing a new offering for the product organization is a long and capital-intensive process. They need to design the product, pilot it, prepare the manufacturing, build up the inventory, and then they can launch it into the market. And they usually use product lifecycle management type tools for this. But that's not the case for services businesses, right? They can adapt to demand changes much easier, and they can come out either with new offerings or shift focus from one offering to the other very quickly. Although these customers are quick to go to the cloud, we see that their application landscape is still very siloed. They usually have a sales system where they track their leads and opportunities. Their project managers use different project management tools where project execution is tracked. Project financials and project profitability is usually tracked in yet another system. Team members have their own time and expense entry systems, and consultant skills and profile are tracked in a different application. And the practice managers use all types of tools for risk management. So merging this data from all these siloed applications to derive insights becomes a challenge, and then introduces many inaccuracies, obviously, in the process. And I can talk from personal experience. When I was running a Dynamics practice in Microsoft Consulting Services many years ago, we had a similar application footprint, right? We had more than 10 systems where our project data was being stored. And twice a year, we would go through a workforce planning exercise to prepare our hiring and readiness plans for the next 6 months. And there, we would look at opportunities that we have won and lost. We would look at our resource utilization, taking into consideration like pre-sales focus as well as delivery work. We would look at our P&L to see the most profitable projects as well as the most successful ones. this was a very cumbersome process. It would take us anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks and was very error prone. But the insights we would get out of this exercise were very valuable, right? So we would get insights such as demand shifts that I talked about. We would see that, for instance, Dynamics demand is increasing, and that demand for other offerings was decreasing for our consulting services. And we would start training resources in other practices on Dynamics so that we could accommodate that demand. And we would also start hiring more of those folks to accommodate this this type of shift in business demand. So getting such insights twice a year obviously is not acceptable for our customers today. And using project operations, you will be able to get these insights now in real time. And in this slide, I'll talk about the high-level capabilities of Dynamics 365 project operations, and these are the personas below that would be using this application. So Dynamics 365 project operations will have capabilities all the way from project sales to project accounting, right? So if you look at the tool, what we have in project sales is the ability to create a project plan or the work breakdown structure, create generic resources, and price and cost these generic resources in a multi-dimensional configuration. So we have CPQ type capabilities where you can say the .NET architect with 5 years of experience that's based in the US is priced and cost at a different price point than the same architect that's based in Germany, right? And then you have also the capability of creating this project plan and then tying it into a quote and sending that quote to the customer. And once the quote is won, then the delivery team would take over, and they would assign a project manager to this project. And since this is all in our common data service and all the data is in one place, the delivery team would have full visibility into what the sales team has done. And that's, again, a typical challenge for service organizations where the delivery team will go into a project with no proper handover and no idea what was being discussed during the pre-sale cycle. So with project operations, you will be able to overcome this challenge as well. And then once we're in project planning, the project manager will work with the resource manager. And the resource manager is a persona that has visibility across all the projects within the organization, as well as resource availability across the practices. The resource manager will work with the project manager to resource that project, where the project manager will specify the requirements, the skill requirements, and any other requirements for each of the tasks to the resource manager, and they will come back with an appropriate resource. So that's kind of the central mode of resource management in project operations. You can also have a mode where the project manager is the one that resources the project directly. So once the project is resourced, then it will start executing, where the team members will start entering time and expense, where time will accrue to revenue and expense will accrue to cost. And then if it's a time and material project, the customer will be invoiced at certain intervals. We also support fixed fee type projects where the customer will be invoiced at at key milestones. And then once the customer is invoiced, then the organization will start recognizing revenue and then posting the project journals. So that's kind of at a high level the end-to-end capabilities that you will see in project operations. Obviously, if you look at the personas, the COO, the practice director will be the executive stakeholders. Using project operations, they will look for key KPIs such as the health of the project business, P&L, resource utilization. The account manager is the salesperson. We talked about the project manager. Partner manager would come into play if the organization is subcontracting parts of the project to subcontractors. And then the resource managers and team members, we have mentioned that the project accountant persona would be the persona that does the invoicing, the revenue recognition, and posting of the project journals. So, and although project operations is a new offering from Microsoft, and I should say that with project operations, we are currently in public preview for those of you who may have used our public preview, and we will be generally available on October 1st of this year. So in 1 month, we will release the product. So although this is a new offering from Microsoft, we're certainly not we're not a stranger in this market, right? For many years, we have developed project management capabilities on what was then called our AX platform, which was then put into the cloud with finance and operations in 2016, and we have very rich backend capabilities here, right? All the way from time entry, expense to project management capabilities. And we also had Dynamics 365 Project Service Automation that was released to the market in 2016 as well. And both of these solutions actually were developed by the same engineering team. But given that this was built on a traditional ERP type platform, and this was built on the CRM platform, the Project Service Automation had very strong front-end capabilities, all the way from sales, the CPQ type capabilities that I talked about, quotation capabilities, and resource management capabilities. And both of these solutions, although they were very well received in the market, they weren't leveraging the capabilities of Microsoft Project, who's the leader in the market when it comes to project management solutions. So what we're doing with project operations is we're taking the best capabilities out of these 3 assets, and we're combining them into one, which is project operations. So although project operations is a new offering in the market, we're relying on very rich and deep capabilities that did exist in our portfolio prior. So when you look at our unique value when you look at our unique value with project operations and compare it to what our competitors have to offer, our unique value can be summarized in these 3 pillars. So the first pillar is the broad and deep solution that I talked about earlier. And this is really being made available by the investments that we have done in the Power Platform, and bringing traditional ERP type capabilities and bringing traditional CRM type capabilities closer together. So with the investments around DualRite, the virtual entities, we are now able to offer a solution like project operations that is combining all these capabilities. From that perspective, we have deep and rich capabilities all the way from sales to project accounting. And if you look at other vendors in the space, they either come from the ERP background, the traditional ERP background, or the traditional CRM background. Ones that come from the CRM background, you will see that they have very deep and rich front-end capabilities, but are not very strong when it comes to project financials. And solutions that come from the ERP background, they have great project financials capabilities, but very limited sales or resource management capabilities. If you look at the second pillar, is the fact that Microsoft Project is embedded within project operations will allow you to pull your project managers into your business application. The first thing that we hear from our customers is that their professional services automation solution is perceived as a financial solution, and they have a very hard time bringing project managers in, updating the project progress within their business application. With project operations, now project managers will be able to use their native tool within the project operations environment, and as they schedule the tasks, as they assign new resources, this will translate seamlessly and accurately into revenue and cost in the back end, so that you can do the invoicing and revenue recognition correctly. And then last but not least, the third pillar here, we talk about the real-time business insights that you can get from project operations, right? By having all the sales to the accounting capabilities, what's possible is now to get insights around demand shifts, right? Where you see what opportunities you're winning, where the demand is, how your resource utilization maps to those opportunities, and you will get insights around, change your hiring processes, change your readiness processes to map to your demand. So these are at a high level the capabilities that you will find in project operations, all the way from sales to project planning, resource management, time, expense entry and approval, project costing, pricing and actuals, invoicing, and project financials. I won't go into the details of these for today, but these are the capabilities in project operations. I do want to also give you a sense of where we are taking project operations and our future investments in this space. So we have categorized them around unified, better together, analytics and intelligence, completion of the functional core, and fundamentals. So from a unified, better together perspective, project budget planning is a capability that we're looking to light up early on, so that we have materials support all the way in Microsoft Project, the embedded project experience, and we can support resources and materials as well. For project budget investments, here what we're looking to light up is to improve our project budget experiences that we have in our project management and accounting module, and light this up end to end from CDS to our project management accounting module. Forecasting for materials, which I just talked about, is another P0 item for us that you will see land very shortly, where you will see us investing in the materials support, both non-stocked and stocked, all the way at the Microsoft project level. Integration with Office templates and integration with Core HR are other better together scenarios that are top of the list that we will look to light up. From an analytics and intelligence perspective, there are a couple of insight scenarios that we're looking to light up. The first one is Project Insights Hub, which is all about the persona, like the project manager, landing in a single page that has their key KPIs. Obviously, these will be persona-based, and we will have a landing page for all the different personas that use project operations. Project team recommendations is an AI scenario that's further down the road, but here what we're looking to do is we want to provide recommendation around how to staff the Microsoft your project. Project quotation or proposal insights is the next best action in the sales process, where we will guide the salesperson on the next steps and what they should do to increase the probability of landing an opportunity. Vendor insights and recommendation goes hand in hand with subcontracting for a project. So subcontracting is a big item for us that we will focus on, where we want to have the subcontracting capability end-to-end light up in project operations, and with that we will have also the vendor insights and recommendations. Intercompany invoicing, that's already a capability that's there. We're enhancing it to further support the end-to-end experience with our Microsoft project capabilities, as well as all the way to our project management and accounting capabilities. Other items are all around subscription billing models, enhanced experiences for the universal time and expense entry, so that in our portfolio we have only a single time entry app, whether you're using Dynamics 365 Field Service or HR or project operations. And then also obviously project accounting type enhancements are also on our radar, and we will be investing in fundamentals as well. In the next two slides, I want to focus on the on a little bit of the plumbing and the implementation scenarios that we have with project operations. I think we have talked about these pieces already. So our opportunity management capabilities will come from our project service automation product, where the sales capabilities are built on top of Dynamics 365 for sales directly. So we have very deep CPQ type capabilities there. our resource management capability, we will be focusing on the universal resource scheduling engine that was built by the field service team. So that will be the area that we will be investing in. Time entry, we will continue to invest in the CDS type time entry on that exists in the project service automation experience. And then obviously expenses, invoicing, revenue recognition, we will be leveraging from our project management and accounting module that sits in finance. And then Microsoft Project will be our project planning tool in project operations going forward. And we have worked with the project team to and released a new offering called Project for the Web last October that runs on the Dynamics platform that maps to our entities. So that experience will be embedded directly within project operations. And then last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about the implementation scenarios, and Mikhail will go into the detail here. So come October 1st, you will have 3 main implementation scenarios. What we see from our customers is resource-based scenarios with existing third-party service-centric ERP. So a lot of customers have already an ERP system that does the revenue recognition, the invoicing, but they are looking for the front-end capabilities. So that will be one deployment scenario that we expect to see. For any resource non-stack based scenarios, we will be deploying our hero scenario, which has the full capabilities of sales to project accounting, and obviously sales to time entry will come from our PSA and project capabilities, and expense to project accounting from our PMA capabilities. For stacked production-based scenarios, we will still be leveraging our PMA capabilities to light up those scenarios. And again, I'll let Mikhail go into the details here, and then I'll turn it over to Russell now for the demo.
Okay, thanks, Gurkan. And Russell, there you go.
Thank you. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can see your screen. Go ahead.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining. So what I'm going to go through today is the journey from the interest in a deal all the way through invoicing and finance and operations, and try to give you the life cycle as we see it playing out for the integrated scenario for project operations. So starting with our dashboards, our practice managers, PMs, and other stakeholders who have a portfolio view of the service delivery organization will be able to understand quickly where you stand with some key metrics. So whether it be from a project management perspective, understanding your cost by month, and looking at it from a historical perspective, or perhaps from a project management perspective, getting your portfolio view of your active projects, and maybe some of the key things that you care about, tasks that are coming up, maybe your active tasks, projects that are active, your expenses that are to be approved, or time entries that are be approved, all at the portfolio level. So starting with, if we really take a step back and we say, okay, well, how does a deal get acquired? In the life cycle of CRM sales, it all starts with a lead. So if I identify an opportunity, in this case, a capital project, this can be represented first with identifying a resource who has the ability to execute that work. So as a salesperson, I've met Will Contoso. Will's going to be able to provide some information, and we think Will has a deal for us to move forward on. We can take this lead and essentially qualify it. So with that qualification, what we spawn then is an opportunity. So moving down the funnel of certainty, if we believe that this lead is legitimate, we take it to the next stage and we identify it as an opportunity. Now, this opportunity, we now have the ability to specify a lot more detail. So beyond the contact person, we then get into the organization. So in this case, the deal is with Adatum Corporation. And at this point, we think their budget is about $500,000, and we have a strong probability to win the deal. So along the way in the life of the deal, we can maintain any conversations around what's happening on the deal. We can identify our key stakeholders, so we can identify our sales team. Maybe we want to highlight who else is going to be, who are we fighting with to acquire this win. And then at the line item level of detail, we're able to specify what the nature of the work is going to be. So in this case, we're saying maybe it's about $500,000 in professional services. Once the team gets the green light to proceed, what we're able to do is then go into the next phase of the projects, where we will ultimately decide to quote the project. So quoting the project will give us the leverage now to get to the real true value proposition of project operations. So moving from lead to opportunity to quote, what we're doing is we're going to get into this level of fidelity where you can actually say, okay, how much is this deal really going to cost? So at this point, we've got very high level numbers from sales, but now we want to get into a lower level of granularity with a bottoms up estimation from your project management team. To do that, what we'll do is we'll take each quote line and we'll link them to a project, right? So as I drill into this project, what I'm going to see, and in this case for my professional services, I'm going to build this estimation of $265,000 from a project that I estimated, and this is the heart of the product. So as you see here, we've got our work breakdown structure with a brand new interface in our partnership with with the Office folks, where we've built together some IP where we've reimagined the desktop experience from a scheduling perspective in a web-based application. So I have experiences where I can drag and drop. I have scenarios where I can cut and paste. If I wanted to change this, this UI is very fluid, it's very performant. And ultimately what it does is it really tries to encourage the PM to really focus on executing work and scheduling to a level of depth, precision needed to deliver the work. In addition to the waterfall view and the drag and drop controls, what we also have is a board view. So we recognize that the world is more than waterfall projects, and we do have Kanban boards to support. So if we think about this, we can quickly get to a backlog. We can say maybe next up and in progress. So now locally on this project, the PM has the ability to bucketize the work as they see fit to deliver it in a way that makes sense for that project, just giving them more flexibility. Also, a huge value in this product now is this introduction of this timeline view. So the timeline view not only represents the basic visual representation of the project plan, but it is interactive. So what it provides is a mean for us to do drag and drop. We can change duration of projects, and we can also define relationships between tasks. Furthering the theme of the desktop controls, we also have undo redo. So imagine we have the ability to just back off those changes, and as anyone who's scheduled before, stuff happens and you really want to have the ability to edit quickly. And this is all happening in this web interface in a very performant manner. So with this bottoms up estimation in place, it is now backed by the final stage, which is how do we get to an estimate. So we leverage that time-phased effort that has been built by that project plan with price lists that are tracking at the role level or any other dimension that is appropriate to get you not only your cost price for the job, but also your sales price. And as you can see, this is a time-phased representation that we can see from day out to month out to year. Not only do we track the resource cost and sales related to the projects, we also track the estimates for expenses. So by category, we can track our expenses, whether it be for mileage, flight, hotel. We can also add other categories. So PMs can really have the ability to configure this and assess what they need. So this is very specific on a per business scenario. And we can also link these expenses to each task if needed. So they're more relevant, so there's more context. So we can say that that specific hotel stay was to handle the core and shell portion of the project. So with that, we've got a full picture of the estimates on that project. So now we understand what it's going to take to deliver. All right. So now, if I get it back into my contract for a second, what I do here is initially I had an estimation that said this project might be about 500,000, but the estimations at the project level were a lot larger. So what I can do is I can go into each individual contract line, and all I do is, rather than rekey that information I had at the project level, is I simply go into project contract line details, and because this contract line is linked to this project, large capital project, all I need to do is ingest the detail that I got from that project, and it will be reflected on this contract line. So again, there's continuity from the sales perspective all the way through to the estimation. There's no rekeying of that data. So just one click of the button will get me into my contract. Now, once my contract has been won, so as I moved from lead to opportunity, from quote, my quote has been delivered. My customer says, yes, this is a deal we want. We can actually take a look at our profitability. We can make sure that it all matches expectations, and we have a good view of what's going on. And this is the project we want to deliver. We convert that quote into a contract, and with that, now we're at the point where we want to start generating some actuals. So what I'll do at this point is I'll take a look at my time entries. So against that project in the time entry UI, you can quickly hit new, add a new row. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but as you imagine, I can get a day-wise entry here that could be for billable or non-billable time or overtime. This grid is configurable and we can add other views, but this time is actually then reflected accurately on the project. So if I take a look at the 48 hours that were approved against the estimate line, I see them showing up in my tracking grid. And as such, I've got a view of my estimate at complete. If I don't believe that this estimate at complete is correct for this line, I can simply reduce it or increase it as I see fit. And the combination of approved hours plus estimate remaining will get me a full picture. So now we're at the actuals level. With those actuals, I generate unbilled sales and cost transactions. So therefore, I can see now as a PM, what have I not billed? So I can grab any number of unbilled sales and generate an invoice. So for that project, for my 48 hours, that generates the professional services T&M work, and that is linked now to this invoice. Now this is where integration comes in. Seamlessly integrating this invoice, I can actually get into finance, and I can see those costs flow through into my integration journals, and then eventually I can get this to an invoice proposal. So now we've got, hopefully in this demo you see, we've got the separation of stakeholders where we can actually get to the point where we're covering the sales process all through contracting and actuals. We generate our invoice, so all the relevant stakeholders are still in the customer engagement UI, and the back office function from journals all the way through invoices and RevRec are going to be handled in finance. The last thing I want to cover is our resource management, and then I'll hand off to the team. What we want to do on these projects is once it's staffed and approved, one of the things we're going to have to do is try to get resourcing all across the project. So I'm going to take this simple example where on this project, I have my superintendent who is related to this project for mobilization for 5 days. Now that has generated this requirement for 40 hours in this time period. And using the universal resource management, I need to be able to go book a named resource. So the last tip in this demonstration is just showing you how I get to a named resource from this experience. So given that requirement, whether it be central or hybrid, meaning a central resource manager or the PMs, we can grab a requirement and find the requisite resource to fulfill that work. So for superintendent in this organizational unit, we have 2 resources that can fulfill that time. So I can simply book that resource, get them engaged on my project, and not only will their time be reserved on the project, but they will also be replaced as assignments on the tasks where that resource is represented. And with that, I think I'm just at time, and I can hand off to the next presenter.
Okay. Thanks very much, Russell. And Mikhail, I'll turn the presentation over to you. Okay, Mikhail, looks like you're on mute.
Yes, just want to make sure. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, it's
All
perfect.
right.
Seeing your slide.
Thank you. So my name is Mikhail Reutman. I run Dynamics Consulting Services at Elip Solutions. And thank you, Gurkan, Russell, and Robin. We do a lot of project-based implementations. We have a lot of project-based organizations as customers. And when this product first came about, the first question was how it will apply to our customers. So today we will go through some of the typical project-based businesses and see how and what from the technology perspective and what fashion they will be using this application. Let's start with engineering and architecture firms or any consulting organization. This would apply to law firms. This would apply to software consulting companies as well. As Gurkan mentioned, there are three main implementation scenarios. And so in this case, we're using what's called resource-based deployment implementation. In practical terms, we'll use majority of the PSA, formal PSA functionality with Microsoft Project with respect to taking it all the way from project sales to budgeting and forecasting, resource management, all the way to kind of final completed steps, end-to-end scenarios for resource-based type application. Move on to the construction specialty contractors. So again, this is a typical project-based business with, in this case, providing mostly services. So we're looking for folks who provide services in electrical work, plumbing, any type of interior finishing type services. They will be in the same bucket with the resource-based deployment, with resource-based implementation. Again, starting from project sales, what I call lead to quote opportunities, then all the way through to project resource management, time, expense, data collection, all the way to project financials. Now, if you take the same group of folks with construction specialty contractors, but focusing heavily on inventory scenarios where you have equipment to install, manage, and support. So where you have, maybe you're building some products for the construction process. So this will be more of a what's Microsoft called production-based deployment scenario, where you may start with sales with respect to lead to quote opportunities, and then move on to the what used to be known as PMA, project management and accounting capability with respect to forecasting equipment, forecasting hours, resource tracking, all the inventory management parts of the components of the solution, and then obviously invoice, project billing, and accounting. And then if it does involve any field operations with respect to equipment maintenance, repair, and support, then field service may still come into picture as well. Then general contractors, so you have a construction process, general contractors who manage the subcontractors and specialty contractors. They will be, again, more of a resource-based type deployment functionality where start from project sales and kind of stay within capabilities of PSA and Microsoft Project to manage resources in manage resource execution and project execution process. We do have a lot of project manufacturers, so folks who start with engineering and design work. So most of this are typically applicable to custom custom manufacturers, so manufacture custom products, not a catalog type products. So they will be back to the what we discuss as a production-based deployment. So again, this will be PMA capabilities with respect to hours, data collection, expenses, inventory management, project billing, project accounting, revenue recognition, and so forth. So these are just some examples of typical project-based businesses who use Dynamics today and now have expanded capabilities. So if you look at the individual user scenarios, this is how it's kind of subdivided between CE components and F&O components. With lead, opportunity, quote, cycle is on the kind of the CE side. The sales execution is on the CE side up until it gets to the resource management, resource tracking, time and expense, entry and management, and then project forecasting. From that point on, it gets into more of a F&O scenarios from invoice management, project management, revenue recognition, and project estimations. I now probably move on to Scott, who's going to show some real-life example.
Okay, Scott, I'll transfer this to you. There, Scott, we are seeing your screen, but looks like you're still on mute.
Oh, yes, I am.
There we go.
Sorry, I had 2 mutes on. I was double muted. Thank you. So again, my name is Scott LaFonte. I'm director at Avanade and a 3-time Microsoft Business Applications MVP. And I want to show a little bit about how we're using project operations within Avanade on internally and also on some of our projects here, really around the capability of extending the application, right? So I think Russell and Mikhail have done a great job of showing the capabilities, and I want to take it now a step further, right? So one of the things that we typically, well, let me put it in presentation mode if it'll allow me to. And it doesn't want to, so I'll just do that. Anyway, so one of the things that we've done internally and I've used on projects is that use of buckets, and also just extending it just a little bit to if you're on an agile project and you're doing story pointing, using that whatever numbering sequence you use, and typically we see a lot of that Fibonacci number story pointing, where you can actually use those buckets and start estimating not just the tasks, but all the tasks underneath those buckets, and saying what's the level of effort to implement this particular bucket. So like Russell showed earlier, how, hey, you have this bucket and then here's a project, there's a backlog bucket. You could also take it a different route and also put everything into buckets like architecture, integration, configuration, reporting, whatever it may be, and build your level of effort around those buckets, right? One of the big things that we see and we're using internally and also with customers is the ability to do status reporting. And so building upon that project there and allowing the project manager to really go ahead and have one system that captures the essence of everything. Okay, so where are we on overall project status? Where are we with budget and scope and resources? And what does it mean if we're on track or off track or at risk? So they can start building this out and start reporting on it. And then with the inherent capability of SharePoint, after they generate that status report template, they can go ahead and save that within the application and keep that repository. So just some additional screens here that we have. What you would see typically is your project RAID, so your risks, action items, issues, and dependencies. So you can build this to whatever process you use internally. If you have internal projects or you're managing projects, such as at Avedon, where we're managing implementation projects, where you can start really capturing all these items and quantifying them either by impact or criticality. Also showing them, if you want to make it customer facing, you can have visibility settings so you can expose it on a customer facing portal or partner portal. So you really get a little bit more flexibility, especially if you're starting to assign tasks to a project, a partner or a customer that doesn't necessarily have a license, but they have the portal capability. So again, so what we've done is we've built this project status tab within the application, and this is just a snippet of that, where we're taking some of the out of the box functionality with project tasks, and we're saying which ones are milestones. We're showing a little bit of the billing milestones so the project manager can see all of that in one place. And then we start listing down the rate items. So they would see the risks, the action items. I've had customers want to capture change management, have a change management log, and what's the impact on from a budget? How much is the customer willing to pay for that change, and how much is that going to cost us internally? So keeping track of those cost and revenue items as well. And then based on top of that, we can also build our Power BI dashboards and embed those within the application. So we can start seeing either from at a portfolio level or an individual project level, we can start seeing some of those details, like here's all the milestones, and for example, this one has a change management item and open risks and things like that. We can start seeing things at a more graphical perspective. Here's the example of a simplistic portfolio dashboard where we're showing how many projects are in a certain status and who's the project manager of these items, so that if the practice director or someone internally wanted to go ahead and talk to, for example, if they see one of my projects is red, well, maybe they want to know why. Well, they could also just go in and they can start clicking on the different tabs within the dashboard to get a sense for what's going on with that project, to understand why it's red. And then there's, again, to your heart's content, you can start building summary slides as well, like what's coming up with some tasks, what's been completed, how many tasks are overdue, if there's anything overdue. So you can really start building this out quite heavily, to the point where you can really just go wild, to be honest with you. And one of the things that I wasn't able to put into a slide, but I'm not going to, I'm going to go ahead and just show this here as well, is just a little bit of that financial aspect, building upon those actuals that you would see in the once the time and expenses are approved, and that comes back in. We can start seeing where we are graphically from a labor cost, maybe actual hours, maybe you want to do it by sales. We can see what the expenses are and where we are with the cost consumption. So a lot of these fields are within the application, and now you can just really transcend this into a dashboard sort of view for your executive teams, or even just status reporting. Okay, and with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay.
I'm done.
Thanks, Scott. I think we've come to the question time. Heather, did you want to?
Sure.
Conduct.
I'll jump on in here.
Okay.
Yeah, so for those that don't know me, my name is Heather Williams. I work with Ellipse Solutions. And so we'll just kind of go into the next phase for the questions. And Anne has posted a question quite some time ago. So we'll get to hers right now since she's been so patient. She wants to know, and Gherkin, I feel like this is directed more towards you and Russell. She wants to know how you will plan out the consistency and vocabulary across all of the components and different teams.
Sure, then that's a good question. So if you look at project operations as an offering, and project operations has entitlements to all of our Dynamics project capabilities. So if you take it from sales to project planning to time entry, expense entry, all the way to project accounting, those would be the capabilities that you would get. And these capabilities, again, currently you're purchasing either through our in-market project service automation solution or through the project management capabilities in finance. So come October 1st, when we release project operations, the project management and accounting and expense capabilities that you get access entitlements to with the finance offering, those will be moving over to project operations. And obviously the PSA capabilities will come into project operations as well. And we will certainly not disrupt any customers. We will grandfather them in. So if you look at this picture, we have some duplicate capabilities still when it comes to project planning with the PMA side, WBS, and the Microsoft project that we have just built, resource management capabilities. We have some duplication between the PMA side and then what we have in the PSA capabilities. So again, our capabilities from a vocabulary perspective will refer to to the same capabilities, but then from an implementation scenarios perspective, if you will need to, if you have an inventory scenario, as Mikhail talked about, if you need to have stocked items in your project plan, if you need to have production-based scenarios that your customers support, there we will rely on our PMA capabilities. And in time, our vision is to converge these capabilities and obviously bring the full value of project operations to all our customers. So what you will see in our roadmap is us bringing the resource management that runs on URS into the inventory scenario as well, us bringing the Microsoft Project Experience into the stocked scenario as well. So that's kind of how we will build up this offering in the future and how we will align the capabilities. Did that make sense? I'm hoping I've addressed Anne's question, but if there's a follow-on, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, that was a nice comprehensive answer. Thank you, Gherkin. I know your time, I know you had to leave for or a little bit early. So if you need to leave, I can certainly point the last question that we have time for towards Mikhail and Scott.
I have another 4 minutes, Heather. So,
wonderful. Great. Well, the other question that we had was, we're a mixed company here. So we have some partners and some customers, but I feel like everyone might be interested in licensing. So can you touch on what that will look like for us and what you can share right now?
Sure. So our licensing will be, again, if folks have followed the evolution of our finance and operations offering last October, what happened is that finance and operations split into two. So you had the supply chain management and the finance offering. Come this October, we will have now project operations, finance, and then supply chain management. Again, the project management, accounting, and expense capabilities will be based in project operations, as well as our PSA capabilities and the Microsoft project capability that Russell demoed. And we will have a full license for the users, as well as the team member license. And we will also follow the attach model, both for our OAG portfolio and for our customer engagement portfolio. So if somebody buys Dynamics 365 sales as well as project operations, that will follow the attach model, where the second SKU will be at a much lower cost. And similarly, if they buy finance and project operations, that will follow the attach model as well.
Thank you, Gherkin. That was a good answer. All right, I think, do we have time for one more? Can we stretch it out, Robin, or do we need to
Oh yeah,
end things?
go right ahead.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about some of the mechanics behind the nuts and bolts behind the scenes. So can you tell us a little bit about the platform and the language behind the project management, accounting, project service automation pieces?
Yes, no, I'm happy to do so. So again, as we are bringing these capabilities together, we're relying on our platform investments around virtual entities and dual write. And especially in our case, it's the dual write platform that project operations will be leveraging highly. So what you can expect to see is that the project management, accounting, and expense capabilities that you see in finance will continue to live on and then run on the F&O side of things. And the project service automation and the Microsoft project capabilities will be running on our CE platform. And we will be utilizing dual write to combine these capabilities together. Obviously, this will be seamless to the customers, but from an extensibility perspective, if you want to extend project operations, the project management, accounting, and expense capabilities, you would extend using your X++ skills, and then the front-end capabilities would be extended to the Power Platform extensibility functions that you have for data model-driven apps. So, and then obviously you can still configure dual write to your needs as well. But if you need to add attributes, fields to project operations that need to go across these, that configuration will be possible as well.
Great, Gurkan. I think that, along with what everybody shared today, has really helped give a nice overview of the possibilities and the capabilities of where project operations is going. So thank you for you and your team's work on this. I appreciate it, and for sharing it with the community.
I think we had one other question.
Did we?
About the Power BI. You didn't cover the Power BI dashboards question yet, right?
I did not see it.
Okay. I think this one's also for Gurkan. Are you going to embed Power BI dashboards or use the new interactive dashboards, or stay with the classic as shown in the demo?
I think we'll do a combination of all. So we do have a Power BI a Power BI package that we are looking to refresh. So you will have some sophisticated persona level analytics within the tool that will be available as part of project operations, as well as the interactive, the inbuilt analytics that you see in project operations will be available as well. So both we are looking to continue to invest in.
Okay, great. Yeah, that was all the questions that I was seeing. Heather, did you have anything further?
I do not. Nope. Thank you.
Okay, great. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone. Gurkan, Russell, Mikhail, Heather, Scott, thank you so much for all this great information. And thanks everyone for attending. I'll go ahead and stop the recording.